Hi, it's John, and today I'd like to do a video on giving up alcohol. So, I explained a little bit about my journey. My journey with alcohol was that I started at quite a young age, like somewhere around 16, 17, 18. I started going into pubs and drinking with friends. And I never stopped until around, I don't know the exact time because it was kind of gradual, but it was around 2018, perhaps into 2019. So yeah, around 3 years since I stopped. So yeah, I wanted to share a bit about my journey in summary and also some advice I have if you're thinking of giving up. The first is, for context, latterly before I gave up, I was drinking quite a lot. I would probably more than the government recommended allowance for a male of my age. And definitely regular. I would drink one or two drinks most evenings, and then also for weekends were very different as well. I would often find myself just in a situation where I was binge drinking, and I don't really know how many I'd go into. My favourite drinks were beer and also whiskey. It's Scotland. It's like the best whiskey in the world, right? And I think the game, what started to change for me was, first of all, I've always suffered from hangovers when I drank alcohol, even from a young age. And so it was always, the older I got into my 40s, early 40s, I was thinking, with a hangover, I've got, I'd have a migraine. I would, even after drinking like one or two drinks, I never feel great in the morning. And I found that the hangovers really impacted definitely my weekends for sure. So like my Saturday mornings, my Sunday mornings. And I also found that some of my passions were held back by drinking. So it'd be things like playing music. I was, at the time, I would every Wednesday go along to a local pub and be drinking. And I found that the more I drink, after one or two drinks, my singing and my guitar playing get a lot worse. And it was only really when I watched myself back in videos that I realized that for me it's not really compatible. And that was actually how one of the ways my journey started to stopping drinking. And so I found some of my passions, like I really enjoyed being able to play, no matter what the time of night was, to play music in a pub. And so I would ironically go to a pub and I would just order an alcohol-free beer or a Diet Coke, and then I would drink those all night. And that was even during a time that I might be drinking sometimes at weekends, or drinking sometimes with my wife. And so that was the first thing that really helped me, was cutting down. And then in the situations where I felt the most pressured to drink was to not drink. And I found alcohol-free beer was really good because although the taste wasn't amazing, it's cheaper, and most people just look at you, think that you're drinking, so you don't tend to have to spend so much time explaining. So that was really good. No impaired music and singing, and then no hangovers the next day. For weekends, I started by trying a couple of weekends off. So I'd like a Friday and a Saturday, and I'd take each day at a time. And they're like, yeah, I think, Friday or Saturday, and then I'd just see how that went. And that worked really well for me. I think there was a couple of kind of brave weekends where I was like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen, how it's going to feel. And I do want to just kind of interrupt myself and say what it feels like now, 3 years later. I just don't miss it at all. Like, I genuinely don't miss it. So when people say, oh, well done, John, for like giving up for so long, it's like once you give up, it gets easier and easier. And it feels like I used to smoke when I was younger. That was really hard the nicotine was like really, really addictive. And I just felt like that was much harder physically, like the physical symptoms were harder. Whereas alcohol, my relationship with alcohol was always to like de-stress. And so the more stressed I was at work, the more I would tend to drink at a weekend. And so, yeah, when I tried a few brave weekends, first of all, I was like, hey, this is really good. Like, I can do it. And it was definitely harder to begin with because I'd feel more tense. Like my body and my mind weren't used to relaxing without alcohol. But it wasn't as bad as it seemed after, I can't remember, like maybe 4 weeks of no alcohol. And plus, I was really focusing on the benefits. So continued to go to the pub each Wednesday, not drink, play music, meditating every morning. I found it very difficult to meditate with a hangover, and then suddenly it was way easier. I really enjoyed like just waking up, even if I felt tired. It was never hard to meditate compared to when I was previously drinking. And a few things like really surprised me. Like one was what I consumed 24/7 was suddenly of much more interest to me. Like I was much more aware. So for instance, when I was drinking, I tend to eat more snacks, and that's still another vice. That'll be another video for some time. But yeah, I'd eat more snacks and I just wouldn't really care about my body because I just felt comfortably numb with alcohol. The other thing was that I think my behaviors and I just seemed to care less about myself and less about others when I drank, and you know, that didn't seem to be a great feeling. And so I found fairly quickly that instead of just relying on drinking to relax, my kind of new drugs, if you like, became things like, and still are to an extent, became things like sitting on a sofa. Like just that time in a day to sit down. And it's really funny, like when you're like stressed about something in your life, or I'm stressed about work, it's really funny. Now I just think like, oh, I'm looking forward to like sitting on a sofa. And before I'd be like, oh, I can't wait to have a beer and sit on a sofa. And now I just don't miss the beer, and I really enjoy the sofa part. And I also tend to just relax more. A bit like, just, you know, just take it easy and have a nap if you need to, if you're stressed. The other thing I do is I love baths, and I have quite hot baths, and sometimes for like an hour, and they're really good because you just feel like, you know, you can take yourself out of the world, and it's a good way of me like just finding that peace and quiet. So we've got a minute and a half left. Yeah, I found that a lot of people would ask me, oh, why did you give up drinking? Did you have a problem? And I'd be honest, just like I'm being honest with you now, and I'd say, look, I did drink too much, really. And our society programming around drinking is fascinating, right? It's like, hey, drink as much as you want, and, you know, advertising for booze, and you can buy loads of it cheap, and in supermarkets. And actually, you know, everyone gets free will choice. I don't judge anyone that still drinks. It's completely up to them. And what I personally enjoy is the benefits of, you know, not drinking. And I love it all the time. I can drive anytime I want. I can, you know, take people out on a night out, and my family and friends, and pick them up from their houses, and vice versa. Can do all these amazing things. So yeah, I'd encourage you to, you know, find what works for you on your journey, and to let you know that there is hope, and there's lots of different ways you can experiment yourself to see what works for you. So I hope this helps you, and sending my love from Scotland. Love you.